Hello, princesses, and welcome back to Not Fit for Print Beauty with me, Rebecca. The reason I have this huge grin on my face is because I have a giant, I think that's the right adjective, a giant Hourglass review for you today with three, that's right, three. You thought there was just two, but I'll explain. Three brand new Hourglass powder palettes. We'll talk all about them. I'm so happy to have you here. Don't forget that you can also catch my content over on Instagram, TikTok, and on Threads. I am going to have very, very detailed timestamps down below. This is going to take us a little while to get through. We have to talk about all the shades, what are repeats. Obviously, you need me to explain what in the world I'm talking about with this third new Hourglass palette, if you don't already know. So we do have to take a little bit of time here. The timestamps will therefore be very detailed. I mean, obviously, I would love to have you here for everything, but I do understand that you've got a life. So please rely on those timestamps. It takes me a long time to do them, and I would love it if they were useful for you. Okay. By the way, Mother's Day is coming up. Think of your mother. Think of yourself or anyone else you love. And don't forget about the deal I have going right now from Rose Forever New York. That's right. These are Rose Forever New York. And I talked about them the other week, and people were so shocked that these are real roses. Let me show you right here. Let me take them off my set. So Rose Forever New York has provided the roses. Yeah, they smell like roses too. The real roses for my set for the past, gosh, it's 3 or 4 years now. These are real roses. The process is described on the Rose Forever New York website. They smell like roses. They feel like roses. They look like roses. They are real roses. They last for over a year. Now, Rose Forever New York says they last for a year. I'm telling you they last, that's my opinion, for over a year. And I replace them a little over a year each year with Rose Forever New York. I'm really proud to talk about their products. So beautiful. There are so many different arrangements, different color roses, different color containers, shape, amounts of roses. They even have home scent, candles, all sorts of beautiful things that you can find. And right now, if you use code Rebecca25, you get $25 off your purchase. This is a promotion we have had running for a week or so now, and there's quite a few weeks left of it. But take advantage of it for Mother's Day or any day, really. Rebecca25 gets you $25 off these gorgeous creations, and code Rebecca gets you free shipping. I mean, how good is that? $25 off and free shipping for beautiful real roses. How do you take care of them? You just look at them and smile. These are actually Rebecca-proof roses. They're real roses that do so well, and I just get to look at them and smile. They are so beautiful. So go ahead and choose your bouquet, choose your arrangement and color, shape. They smell so good. And make sure that you use code Rebecca25 for $25 off, and code Rebecca in order to get free shipping, and all that information will be down below. Now, my description bar is a good spot to find things like the Rose Forever code and also all of our timestamps. It's also a great place to see some of the cool things that I've got going in this community. I'd love to have you here. Would love to have you subscribe. We also have 2 different opportunities, and since we have timestamps, I will tell you about them. Those opportunities, number 1, we have a $4.99 a month membership here on YouTube, where once a week I host a weekly live, which you can also catch on replay, and we're going to have some giveaways and behind the scenes things. If free is more up your alley, there is a free Facebook group that is for community chat. I pop in there every so often. I love it. It's a fun place to be. And we had just launched it, and we got over 60 members already, and we've just launched it. But you can come over there and chat anything you want about makeup, and I will put that link in the description bar as well. So we've got lots of good stuff going on here, as well as opportunity for super thanks and all of the links to purchase these products. All right, so let's talk about it here. We have 3 new Hourglass palettes. And I'm going to give a section to each one so that it's easier to navigate if you're only interested in seeing one. That's what those timestamps are for. I'm going to tell you the shades in them, and we are going to try them on. Now, broken record time here. I am not a makeup artist. I am a fashion and beauty journalist. So I will tell you how they perform. We know how Hourglass powders perform. They're lovely. But I will kind of swatch them on my face and try to use them a little bit. But I'm not trying to do a look here as such. I will leave the artistry to you. We are more going to talk about the shades and what are repeats. And, you know, Hourglass palettes are a little hard to figure out. Everything is ambient, everything is incandescent or dim or iridescent or golden, soft, champagne. Sometimes you think, did I see this one before? And I have researched the heck out of all of these shades. Doesn't mean I'm always right. So you're welcome to put your knowledge down below if I leave something out. Okay, so the two that you know about, guys, you guys know about these two, but let me tell you the third too. And let me tell you what we're looking at here. We're going to be looking at the Ambient Lighting Edit Blush and Glow Volume 2 palette. It's $90. We're going to look really in depth, and all of these will have demos and swatches in 2 different lighting. That's the new one on the Hourglass site that you have heard of. By the way, Hourglass, please let you know, another code for you guys. If you use code Rebecca and my link down below, or I think even just code Rebecca, you get 10% off at Hourglass. So make sure that you do that, right? Code Rebecca gets you 10% off at Hourglass. I've got all the good savings codes today. I'll put that in the description bar as well. Okay, we're also looking at the other one on the Hourglass site, which you can get 10% off on with my code Rebecca, is the Ambient Lighting Edit Bronze and Highlight, also $90, 6 shades. And we're going to talk all about those. And then we also have a little sneaky palette that was only available on Selfridges and is not on Selfridges now, but trust me, it's coming. The last time we had a little sneaky available limited edition palette from Hourglass on Selfridges, the next month or two, it popped up on the Hourglass site. So watch for this one, but I did get it. And it is also limited edition, the Ambient Lighting Golden Rose Edit. It's a 4-pan. I don't know the price. On Selfridges with the exchange rate, it was $74. And I'll link it so you can see it on the Selfridges site, but I believe it's sold out now. My guess is, look at how the packaging is super similar in shade and such. My guess is we will at some point see this on the Hourglass site. So I will put this in last. Some of you might go, oh, I can't get that now, I'm not deciding. But, you know, if you are, I'll make sure it's in there. We're going to do 3. The other thing we're going to do is 3 different changes. Let me explain. Right now I am wearing, oh, I love this. This is the Hourglass Veil, the skin tint, which is pretty much my favorite skin tint on the market. I'm wearing that, a little bit of mascara, and a little bit of the Hourglass lipstick in Tide. Very, very simple. Why? Because I'm going to take it all off of my face and put it all back on so we can do the next palette. Each palette I'm going to divide up, and I'm just going to go wash my face. My hair might look a mess, but we are here to really get into these palettes, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I got my mirror here. Let's start. First of all, with our Ambient Lighting Edit Blush and Glow Volume 2. These are all limited edition. This is $90. We have, we've seen this color from Hourglass before, but sometimes they go pink, or this is kind of a coppery shade, or a rose gold shade, would you call this? And inside, we have 6 pans. We have 3 blushes in this one, 2 finishing and 1 highlighter. So let me tell you what the shades are and their names. Don't worry if you're confused. I've done all the research and I'm still confused. Anyone who acts like they know all of this and have this down pat from Hourglass, come on now. Okay, so our first shade right here that my finger is on, this is Ethereal Light Finishing Powder. It was available in a single before. The Ethereal Light's been around. Number 2 that my finger is now on is the Soft Flush Blush, also previously available in a single. Number 3 is the Champagne Strobe Light. This is a highlighter. This one is actually shared and is in the other bronze palette. This one right here, this highlighter, the Champagne Strobe Light, is also in the other limited edition new palette. So that's kind of a crossover between the two, interestingly enough. 4, we have our Diffused Heat. This is a blush that was formerly a single. Diffused Light right here. This is our finishing powder that was also previously a single. And number 6 is our Rose Fusion blush that was also previously a single. Some of these have been in trio palettes before, but I wasn't able to confirm that. Maybe I got tired. It's hard to look up these same names, but you know, they have been available before in singles. And like I said, very important to remember, this number 3 shade, the Champagne Strobe Light Highlighter, is in the Bronze Limited Edition brand new palette as well, which is a bit odd. All right, let's look at this in 2 different lightings. First, we're going to start here in studio lighting. This is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit Blush and Glow Volume 2, $90. And there are all 6 shades as they are laid out in the pan. So you can see that there. But you're going to see it so much better when we take it outside into the warm California sunshine. And boy, is it ever warm. Take a look at them. All 6 of them laid out there. Interestingly enough, 2 finishing powders. Why? I don't know. 3 blush, 1 highlight. So the first question you guys are going to ask, and you'll probably ask it about the other palette too, why in the world would you need 2 finishing powders? Well, they are in a slightly different shade, so that would make sense. Okay. Also, you can use them for different things. These are a little bit of a glowy. We're going to try it on right here. They're a little bit of a glowy finishing powder, and I like that in a finishing powder. Very quickly, for those of you playing along at home while I get my brushes ready here, please make sure you're subscribed to this channel, by the way. The difference between a finishing and setting powder, again, broken record time. A setting powder is to set your foundation or tint, as the case may be, and your concealer. It kind of sets your complexion product. Then you put other makeup on top. A finishing powder, however, is just as it says, when everything's finished and it blends in, makes any lines decrease after all of your makeup is on, after your highlighter's on, after your blush and bronzer, and it pulls everything together. You don't have to do it this way, but I prefer a finishing powder that's got a little bit of luminosity, and I prefer a setting powder that's a little bit more matte, but it's personal preference. It really is. So they're calling these 2 finishing powders. And I thought, well, let's take a look at them here. Now I'm going to make a little bit of a mess of my face, and I'm okay with that if you are. We're not trying to do a look so much as test these out. With finishing powders, I like to use a flat kind of kabuki style brush. So I brought 2 of them over. This is the Rephr 17. We're going to be using pretty much all of mine here. And this is a Rephr 31. I want to use clean brushes for everything that we do. So we have 2 finishing powders here. We'll try them both, but I want to put the other makeup on because a finishing powder goes over everything. All right, so let's start with number 2, which is our Soft Flush Blush. And I'm going to put that there. We have 3 blushes, so I'm going to look a little silly, and I will overdo this. I have a light, medium, neutral skin tone. Light, medium, neutral. And in a way, it's good to test this stuff out because I don't have an olive complexion that would maybe change it over. You know, it's a pretty good canvas for that, even I admit. Okay, so, but I am going to overdo it a little bit just so you can see the color, and you have to use a little bit of imagination on yourself. No, I don't think that's the way blush is applied. I'm just exaggerating it. Notice I have to keep saying it. I just want you to see what it looks like, that's all. All right, that is the Soft Blush. That's this one right here. Soft Flush Blush. It is the 2nd shade. It was previously available in a single. All right, let's switch to another brush, and we are going to go to our 2nd blush, which is number 4, Diffused Heat. This is a much lighter blush. Also, this was in a single. This is a much lighter blush. What they have given you here, it looks like, is a bunch of options. And these options will be for different looks. So if you are traveling and you take this palette, you have a buildable soft blush here. And then you have a more striking blush. Now, depending on your skin tone, you might say, oh, I can't use one or two of those shades and therefore won't purchase, but that is what I'm trying to help you decide. Now, even overdone, this is a much more natural blush. Let me really get into it here. And I am using a little bit of a fluffy brush, I admit. I'm just trying to overdo it for you to see, but on my skin tone, I'm really having trouble overdoing it, whereas on this one, I really overdid it. But there are 3 blushes in here, so I'm gonna wipe this off on the little, I have a microfiber towel here on my lap. Okay, we have a 3rd blush, and that is our 6th one, which is our Rose Fusion, much darker. So 2 kind of darker blushes. This is not where a blush goes. Please do not apply your blush here, or you will look as silly as I do. I am just trying to show you the shade, and so I am putting it right here. This is not where a blush goes. Please don't do that. I just want to show you what the shade looks like. And then remember, before we start our next palette, I'm going to have a nice face wash. I need it. I'm wearing blush like a bronzer. And there is the difference, okay? That other shade is so light. I, with my skin tone, could barely apply it. And this one I built up. This is kind of the mid-range shade. It's almost like this has 3 blushes. This very, very intense, very, very gentle, and kind of in the middle. Makes me look a little silly applying it right there now, doesn't it? All right, we have 3 shades that we haven't looked at. One of them is a highlighter. The highlighter is our Champagne Strobe Light that you're going to see again because it's also in the other palette that was just released. So let's put it on this side where it won't be quite as silly. And I am kind of wearing this as a little bit of a topper. This is a really golden, very pretty shade. I know, having blush down here is a little hard to read, isn't it? It almost feels uncomfortable. Let me put a little on the nose. I want you to really be able to see it. It's actually really pretty with that light blush because it kind of makes it like a topper. God, it's so funny to have blush down here. I'm looking at myself and doing a double take. Okay, look, just so you see that. That is a super pretty highlight. I must have that already from Hourglass, but I don't think I do. Can you see that? Is that picking? Look at how striking, granted overly applied, but how striking that first blush is from that top row. Woo! That is very striking, barely overly applied. This one I couldn't over apply to save my soul, and this one took a few different strokes for my light medium skin tone. Okay, we have 2 finishing powders and 2 sides of the face. So our first one, here's how I use a finishing powder, is our Ethereal Light finishing powder, kind of a famous one from Hourglass. And what I do is I take it, you put it over, and you just kind of buff in circles. It looks like I'm really being hard on my face, but I'm not. And it adds a little bit of luminosity, and it kind of straightens things out. I mean, even that over-applied blush that looked so silly on this side of my face is taming down. And, you know, it depends on the pressure you put. Does this take off your makeup? Well, as you see, a little bit of it is on the brush, but not really. It really just kind of melds it into the skin. Some people I know will give a little spritz of a little bit of a, not a setting spray, but like a mist, and they feel it gives the same idea. I actually like this because I think it adds a little bit on too, and you can buff as much or as little as you like. That is that first shade called Ethereal Light Finishing Powder. Okay, let's take my second brush, which is a rougher number 17, and let's try our other finishing powder, which is called Diffused Light. This one is has a little bit more pigment to it, and let's go on this side with this blush down here. It's going to be impossible to look normal, but I'm going to try my best. And I'm kind of overdoing it, putting more on the brush than I normally would, just so you can kind of get the look. It's giving me, it has a little bit more color, as you saw with the swatches. Let me put the outdoor swatches of this one up again, and I'm going to tell you really quickly. The 2 finishing is the very first one on my arm and the next to last one on my arm, and that will show you kind of the difference in those 2. The first one and the next to last one, here they are on my finger. This is the first one and the next to last one. They're very similar, but this one, pardon me with my middle finger here, is a bit deeper. So it's an interesting palette, 3 different blushes, one kind of middle of the road highlighter, kind of light, medium, deep blush, middle of the road highlighter, and then kind of fair and kind of medium finishing powders. These are definitely different finishing powders. I don't know if you could tell. I certainly can. But that's really pretty. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I am going to go and literally take off my entire face, put on my, I'm going to use this up. I love this stuff. Put this on again, and then we'll come back with a fresh face, and we're going to do that twice more for the next 2 palettes. For me, that's going to take a few minutes, but for you, it's like, well, like this. Okay, limited edition palette number 2. All ready to go. Brand new brushes. We have Reset here. This is the Ambient Lighting Edit Bronze and Highlight Palette. Also $90. Also in that kind of blonde copper. I mean, I think it's a little, I think this one, yeah, this one's a little bit rosier. That's the blush one. They're slightly different shades. This one is the same case as the 4-pan that I picked up at Selfridges that we'll look at in a few minutes, but very pretty, and right now a little bit fingerprinty, I admit. Okay, so let's look at this one. Also a 6-pan. We have 2 highlighters, 2 finishing powders again, but this time 2 highlighters. But this time we have 2 bronzers. So let's talk about what we got here and where they have appeared before. Remember, keep an ear open for the fact that one of these is also in the limited edition brand new blush palette we just looked at. Okay, so here we go. We got Soft Light, which is a finishing powder. That's the first one, previously available as a single. Second one right here, we have the highlighter called Incandescent Strobe, also previously available as a single. Let me put my finger here now on the third one, which is our first bronzer. This is called Golden Bronze Light. This was in the Ambient Lighting Trio number 2. I remember. It probably was a single as well, but I remember it was in one of those trios. Number 4 here is a finishing powder. This is called Dim Light. This was in that same Amber Lighting Trio, the volume 2, that this one was in. So this one and this one make up 2 of that trio if you had that one. I don't know if you did, or if you know which one I'm talking about. Then we have the Lunar Bronze right here. This is a bronzer. I think this one might be a new one. Let's talk about that in a moment. But number 6 is our Champagne Strobe. That's a highlighter that is also in the blush palette. Remember we looked at this one? I said we were going to look at it twice. We'll put it on the face again, but that one's also in that blush palette. This was the only highlighter in that first palette we looked at. If you missed it because you're using timestamps, it is in both, but it's a second highlighter in this one. The only one I really couldn't find any evidence of anywhere else is this one I have my finger on right now. Don't worry, we got swatches coming up. This is the Lunar Bronze. It's a bronzer. Why don't I remember this particular bronzer? Would you write into the comment section below if you remember it? It's hard because they tend to repeat names a lot. So it's hard. You kind of go like strobe, celestial, symphonic. You know what I mean? Like it's hard to, it's hard to kind of, but that one I'm not finding anywhere and I'm not remembering it. Could be a new shade. It's like finding a needle in a haystack with this, but I'm just saying. All right, so there we go there. Let's look at this swatched in 2 different lightings. First of all, here we go. In studio lighting, we have the brand new Ambient Lighting Edit Bronze and Highlight Palette, Soft Light Finishing Powder, Incandescent Strobe Highlight, Golden Bronze Bronzer, Dim Light Finishing, Lunar Bronze Bronzing, and Champagne Strobe. That's shared highlighter. But let's take it outside right now into the warm California sunshine. Let's take a look at that there. Oh, it's so pretty. So beautiful. Isn't that beautiful? Take a look at that. Okay, let's try this on. If you are kind of flipping around a little bit, what I did on the blush palette that I'm going to do again here is just kind of get these onto my face so you can see the way they look on a light, medium, neutral complexion. Not trying to make a look. I'll do that in future videos. Right now, let's just see what these shades are about, okay? So we do have 2 bronzers. So let's go ahead and check those out. We have 2 bronzers here. The first we're gonna look at is this Golden Bronze Light, which has been appeared before previously. I brought some Sonia G bronzing brushes over. So let's take a look at that on this side of the face. This is a fairly forgiving light one, and I am just warming up this side of the face and onto the cheeks a little bit on here. You kind of can make no mistake with my light medium skin tone. That is this shade right there, that third in the top. But we have 2 bronzers, so let me get a second Sonia G bronzing. We're going through my brushes here. And we are going to look at this shade right here. This is the one, middle and the bottom here, that is called Lunar Bronze that I personally haven't heard of, but maybe someone's going to tell me what little known palette it appeared in. And this one, maybe a tad bit deeper, that bronzer. No, it's got to be lighter. In the pan, it's lighter. On my face, it's a little bit deeper, isn't it? Let's swatch them both, shall we? Okay. This is the top row. This is the bottom row. Top row, bottom row. Sorry. Top row, bottom row. Hope that's not confusing. This one's, you know what? The bottom row is a little bit, and this side of the face a little bit redder. Now you're going to say to me, Rebecca, why on earth would I need 2 bronzers? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, you can use one in the crease of the eye, certainly. I'm light medium. Depending on how heavy my hand is, and I put these both on very heavily, I could probably use both. If you are a very fair skin or very deep tone skin, you know, you might have some more concerns there because you can't just go hog wild like I've done with light medium skin tone. So, you know, you'll have to think about that. That's why I'm showcasing them all. Okay, we've got no blush in this one because this is the bronze highlight palette. We have 2 finishing palettes, but finishing powders, but we also have 2 highlighters. So let's go ahead and try them on. One you've seen before. The first one is the second shade here. This one right here, I've got my brush in it already, is the Incandescent Strobe Light. It was a single before. Some of these have probably been in some of the palettes too. They are fond of using them and then they confuse us with their similar names. This is a very kind of white light. I'm going to overdo it. Oh, I don't need to. Look at that. Again, not doing a look. Please do not talk about my placement. We're looking at the shades, okay? Please. Good Lord. Okay, I know that. Woo! So this would be really pretty if you have fair skin. If you have a deeper skin tone than I do, you're going to have to be careful with that, or you'll have to put it into the inner corner of the eyes where it would be very pretty. But that is a white light. Okay, and our other highlighter is, you've seen it, but I'll just show it to you again. This is that Champagne Strobe. This is also, these are Wayne Goss brushes, by the way, that we are using. He's releasing some new brushes soon, isn't he? Some synthetic ones. These are goat hair that we're using to apply these highlighters. This particular highlight shade is in the other 6-pan that was just released as well. And it looks the same, because it is the same. Okay, highlighters. But look at, compare it. This one's a really white, bright. Almost like I shined a white daylight. Okay, and last but not least, we again have 2 finishing powders. And I'm trying to use I am using all clean brushes. I gotta do some brush cleaning after this video. So I brought over 2 Kabuki Style Merit #1 brushes. You know I love those, and I do have a lot of them. I work with Merit a lot, so they'll send them to me, but I also buy them. I like them. Okay, so we got 2 finishing powders. My goodness. We have this one. This is a little bit, these are a little bit deeper shades of finishing powders. And the other one we have that is a finishing powder is our #4. So they're right on top of each other. And those are definitely deeper. So some of you might be able to bronze with those. Let me just show you, okay? So this is our first one. This is our soft light finishing powder. And I'll use that on the side with that soft highlighter. Okay, so that is really going to be nice for fair skin. Deeper skin tone, you could highlight with it. You don't have, just because it says it's a finishing powder, you don't have to use it for that. You can make your own artistry. But see how it just kind of blends and tones it down? And because I have a light medium, I'm just kind of able to play back and forth with the shades a little bit, honestly. And here's our other finishing powder. And this is Dim Light. This will be a little too strong for me. Okay, but I'll show you anyway. Again, I can kind of get away with it with a light medium skin tone. And I'm buffing very gently. So it kind of does work, but as you can see, it's adding a lot of color to my skin. Right? A little bit, maybe too much. I don't know. What do you guys think? Actually, it's kind of a pretty look. But, you know, again, you wouldn't put that all over your face if you were super fair or super deep tone skin, right? But for those of you a little bit darker than me, that would be really, really pretty. Light medium through the deepest medium, maybe? And what if you fall outside of that? Yeah, you'll have to find a different use. Would be beautiful on the eyes, beautiful even as a blush, or a highlight on deep tone skins. It would be quite lovely. So again, don't necessarily take these shades at face value in the names. What is a bronze for one person is going to be maybe a blush for another or a highlight for another and vice versa, okay? So just, you know, take it under consideration, but you don't have to use it as they say. And all shades would be quite pretty on the eyes. All right, we have one more palette to go. So I'm gonna wash, which for me is a few minutes and for you is, well, right? Okay, you ready for a third installment? Am I looking a little worse for wear? I'll tell you that my makeup remover in the restroom over there, that is looking a little worse for wear. I got some brushes to clean tonight too. Let's do this, our third palette. This is the one that you didn't expect to see in this video, maybe. Again, I picked this up at Selfridges. It is brand new. Well, if any of the Hourglass palettes are actually new, you know, they tend to be shades that they take from singles and other, you know, they repackage them. But this particular format is brand new. This is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Limited Edition Golden Rose Edit. As I told you, yeah, when I bought it at Selfridges, there's an exchange rate, so it was $74. It's going to show up eventually on the Hourglass site. So I bet it'll be around $75 or so because it's 4 shades instead of 6. Let's talk about what they are and let's try them on and look at them in 2 different lights. Okay, so watch for this one. It's coming soon. I'll link it at Selfridges, but it's not there right now. But it's coming. It will be coming. Okay, so we've got 4 shades in this one. 1 highlighter, 2 blushes, 1 bronzer. We've got this metallic strobe powder, Celestial Strobe Light. That is a highlighter. We have got, that is a really pretty highlighter that used to be in a single, I know. We've got our second shade here is a blush. This is the Incandescent Rose, which was of course a single. We have our Dim Infusion blush, which had been a single also, that's another blush. And then this Golden Bronze Light. This was in the Ambient Lighting Palette Volume 2 Trio, this little guy, and probably also as a single. Now, you might find fault with some of my research. Some are researching where Hourglass shades have come up before is not for the faint of heart. Let me tell you, it is tough to do, and I think I did a pretty good job. But if you have any corrections, go ahead and tell me. You know I like that. I don't mind that. All right, well, let's put this little guy on because he's coming soon. But first, let's do some swatches. And let me remind you again that you can get 10% off your entire order, anything you order on hourglass.com, by just using code Rebecca. I also have a link down below that you can use and use code Rebecca and get 10% off. Very, very cool. All right, let's look at some swatches in 2 different lightings. Here is the indoor in-studio lighting swatch. We have our highlighter, Metallic Strobe Powder Celestial Strobe Light, the Incandescent Blush, Incandescent Rose, and the blush Dim Infusion on the bottom there. And then last but not least, our bronzer in Golden Bronze Light, which is very pretty. Let's take this outside, though, into the warm California sunshine. Here it is laid out just like it is in the pan, and you can take a look at that highlighter, 2 blushes, and 1 bronzer shade. Some of you might actually like this because therefore, if they work for your skin tone, is a little easier to work with. Now, if you have one of these and you're like, this particular bronzer doesn't work for me, get creative. Use it in the crease of your eyes. Some of you then can maybe even use it as a finishing powder, as a blush, as a bronzer, or whatever. Get creative, okay? Don't get disappointed, get creative. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do the two blushes first, which is our second and third shade, quite obviously. And the second shade is our Iridescent Rose, and I brought over some Wayne Goss brushes. I'm getting creative, I'll tell you this, with my brushes. And I will overdo it. Again, we're just trying out the shades here. We're not trying to do a look. We're just trying out the shades. At least it's not like that first palette that had 3 blushes and I had to end up putting one here. We don't have to do that. That was very silly. Okay, so here we go. Isn't that pretty on my skin tone? That's a really good shade for me. And I am going to keep going just to make it a little bit more obvious for you guys. Not that I would wear it this way out. You won't see me in person like this. I just want to show you. That's a little tough for me to overdo, but I think I am definitely giving you an idea of the way the shade looks. And I'll switch to another Wayne Goss brush. Here we go. In order to do our second blush, this one maybe is going to be a little pink for me. Let's see. This is our Dim Infusion blush. Yeah, that's pink. Woo, is that pink? And trying to overdo it for you. Trying to look silly as possible. So weird, because when I do this, people get so angry. Don't wear your blush that way. But I get more positive feedback than not, because you guys get, just trying to show you the shade. Not trying to wear it this way. Not a tutorial, please. My goodness. Or a tutorial if you choose to wear your blush that way, do you? But what I'm trying to just do is make sure you can see the shade. And those are definitely very different shades. See, this one's a lot pinker. Okay, let's get some highlight on. So we got another Wayne Goss brush here for our highlight, which is this metallic strobe, celestial strobe light powder. I'll put it over. I'm kind of using it as a blush topper. This is a Wayne Goss number 3 brush. Do you remember this? And as I said, he's got some other brushes. He's got some synthetic brushes coming soon, which I'm excited about. And since there's one, let's just go to town with it. And I'm kind of using it as a blush topper too. I'm making you jealous if you didn't get this one, huh? Sorry. This is a good one. And then we have our Golden Bronze Light bronzer. Now, do not make fun. This is my oldest Sonia G brush. And he rarely comes on camera because any of you, like, I'm not a horse person. I don't have a lot of horses, but I always know there's like one old horse that just wants, like, barn sour, that just wants to go back to the barn. That's how this one is. He's just a little, don't laugh at him. He's just a little misshapen and old. This is what happens when you're loved too much. But he's pinch hitting today because all his brethren are dirty and he's clean, albeit a little misshapen and funny looking. But he's here to do the job. I use him off camera all the time. He's my favorite. And he works still. Look, he works. Don't laugh at him because he's funny looking. He's put in the hard work. He very rarely comes on camera. This is very exciting for him. Okay, so I'm just kind of, making my face just a little bit warmer. Now, interestingly enough, let me fix up my eyes. I don't have anything on the eyes, just some mascara. But for me, this is aside from the mismatched cheeks, this is a really good palette. To be honest, this is probably one of my favorite Hourglass palettes. I got 2 blushes that kind of both work for me, depending on my mood, and a bronzer and a highlighter that work for my light medium. And I would think this would go all the way from light medium through to medium tan, right? And if you can get creative, you can use this in many, many ways if you have a deeper skin tone or a lighter skin tone. I just want to show you the way those look. But for me, those are kind of all excellent shades, so I really hit the jackpot with that particular quad. And that will come to Hourglass. Do you know that for sure, Rebecca? No, but it always has in the past, including a season or 2 ago when I got There was like a diffused rose. What was that? Trio. And it did come. I think it's on Hourglass right now, actually. Big reminder that if you use code Rebecca at Hourglass, you'll get 10% off anytime, not just now, anything you buy at Hourglass. So I did want to remind you of that. And we have our beautiful Rose Forever New York flowers. Also, code Rebecca25 will get you $25 off there, and Rebecca will get you free shipping. Think of your mother, your mother-in-law, but most really, think of yourself. Think of yourself. I just love to support them. They're just so pretty. They really make my set feel like home, and they're real too. So I love them. And you know, I love Hourglass. I got lots of codes, lots of information, lots of stuff to share. Now, you might want these swatched next to something else. That's what I do over on Instagram. If I start doing that here too, even with timestamps, my goodness, even I know when to say enough. But I'm happy to do that for you over on Instagram. You can ask for that here below, or DM me, or mention it in comments over on Instagram. I'll see ya. I'll see ya, and I'll be happy to do that for you. If I start doing that here too, my goodness, it's just, woo, it's going to be a long day, a lot of editing, you know? So I'll do that for you over there. But make sure you share and like. Tell me what your thoughts are on these. Are you skipping them? Are you buying one? Hey, you know, if you're not a collector like I am, these possibly are all new to you, right? Right? So, you know, it depends how you're thinking about that. So let me know everything. It's what makes us a community. Share, like, of course, subscribe. And I look forward to seeing all of you in the next video. Bye-bye.